WeatherScope.
Well, severe weather is blanketing the southeast this Saturday night, bringing with it thunderstorms and tornado warnings. Good evening, I'm Kim Perez. And in the northeast, another round of rain is heading that way. But first, our top story, the southeast. For that, we go to Sharon Resulton in our forecast center. Sharon.
Thanks a lot, Kim. A lot to talk about this evening as we continue to see some severe weather heading into the southeast, and we're still watching our first area of low pressure that has moved into the northeast, still producing some very gusty winds in that region. First off, though, evidence of some active weather in the southeast. The watch areas remain in effect here, and we are looking at our very newest watch area that extends into eastern Florida. That's good until 4 o'clock local time for the morning hours. And those are tornado watches. That means in and around that watch area, the potential is there for tornadic thunderstorms. And Dan Graff, a meteorologist here at the Weather Channel, has been studying the situation for the past several hours. Can you give us a little bit of insight? We're going to take a look at some radars here, and we'll start you out first, actually, with the surface map. What's going on in the southeast to cause the turbulent weather?
Well, first of all, we have a very dynamic upper system that's generating rising air motions. Rising air motions result in low pressure, and you can see that low pressure area very well right now over the Tennessee Valley. But another factor is that we have a weakness in the pressure field down in here. We call it a weakness because pressures are fairly low there too. And what we're seeing now is an increase in the low-level jet through the eastern Gulf area with winds on the order of 20 miles per hour out of the south. And that's importing very moist air from the Gulf of Mexico with dew points well into the 70s.
Okay, so we've got several factors that are kind of going to enhance the severe weather, even as we head into the overnight hours, correct?
Yes, because on our latest upper air data, we now see winds of over 110 miles per hour at mid-levels over northwestern Louisiana. That's an indication that once that rounds the bottom of this trough over the east, that we will again enhance the risk for severe weather, and where we think it's most likely would be in northern Florida, extreme southeastern Georgia, and also along the South Carolina coast.
And we have seen some thunderstorms developing across eastern Georgia and extending into South Carolina. Some of those in South Carolina have been severe. They'll probably move into a more stable area in the next couple of hours or so, but still need to watch out for the potential for tornadic storms.
Yes, so this is the kind of pattern where tornadic storms are possible. One of the things that will be problematic in terms of forecasting the weather is that the dew points in the eastern Carolinas are only in the upper 50s and low 60s, not quite as unstable as it was over northern Florida. But nonetheless, with that energy coming around the base of the trough now over northeastern Texas and northwestern Louisiana, we do think that the situation is still volatile.
Okay, where you can expand the picture here, this area of low pressure is going to be tracking north and eastwards similar but not identical to the track of an earlier low that brought some very strong winds, very gusty winds into the north and east. And that system is still affecting northern New England at this time. Can you pinpoint where the low pressure system is?
Yes, well, we have the main low pressure system near Elmira, New York, with pressures around 29.30 inches of mercury. But there has been a second area of low pressure that developed just south of Cape Cod and now is moving not all that far from Boston. It's moving northward now. And north of that low, the winds and the rain have really picked up along the southwestern Maine coast. And we do think that it has passed Cape Cod because winds have switched around to southerly and southwesterly directions now in Martha's Vineyard, also in Block Island. And so most of the real rough weather is ending now for central and southern New England, so that's good news for them.
So they can anticipate some improvements overnight, and then by morning as our second area of low pressure moves on up, a little bit of an increase in wind, but not as much wind with that system.
Not as bad, we don't think. And the storm warnings for the Massachusetts coast have been now downgraded to gale warnings now that that energy has moved on up into Maine, but still storm warnings in effect for the Maine coast.
Very important point to note. These are the marine warnings, and again, as we work our way through the overnight, we're going to be watching more for a gale. We're talking about what? Sustained winds, 20, 30 miles per hour?
No problem generating winds of that force. And then farther north along the Maine coast, we'll be looking at winds possibly gusting over 50 miles per hour. You know, on the Massachusetts coast, Sharon, we did have a number of reports of wind gusts well over 60 miles per hour.
And we should remind folks, a lot of reports of wind damage too into New York and Connecticut as a result of, at times, winds gusting 60, 70 miles per hour a little earlier on.
Indeed.
Okay. All right, Dan Graff, thank you very much, giving us the
pleasure.
very latest on what's happening in the southeast and also wrapping up what's happening in the northeast. I'll remind you as we head again toward the top of the hour, we're going to be talking with Mike Seidel in New York City, the New York Marathon running tomorrow morning, and so runners there may have to encounter a little bit of wind and perhaps a little bit more rain as the second low moves up the coast. We're tossing it back to the studio now with Kim for the rest of the nation's weather.
Thanks, Sharon. Well, scattered snow showers tonight in the upper Midwest is occurring and some nice weather in the west. Let's take a look at the rest of the country. Again, high pressure parked over the west, so we are seeing very nice weather, and we'll probably see that here for the next couple of days. But just off to the east there, notice all the green on the map. We have northwest flow aloft, and we are seeing some cold air coming down, so we're seeing a few showers that have developed, but again on the light side. The winds are probably the biggest problem here in the central U.S. Plus we have the rain in the Great Lakes, again associated with our front that also brought the severe weather, but a northern extension of it. The rain has moved out of Cincinnati, moving into Cleveland now, and Lexington looking a lot better than earlier. I-75 probably a better commute, that's for sure. Now farther to the north and west, it is snow on the map.